Do you hear the music, or is that just in my headphones?
I was on mute.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I do hear it. Sorry.
Okay. No, I was just curious because I
might have been on mute for a minute. I don't know how long I was on mute for.
I'm sure we're live with hot mic, so this is gonna be a good time. So, hey, this is what happens when your old pal's producing.
I feel like we were just having a combo, and I might have been on mute. You would have said something.
I was. Now we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, let's get after it.
All right, who wants to wait around here? Chat, give me a thumbs up there if you can hear us, because I'm going to turn the button on if you can hear. So we'll go from there. And yeah, look at that. I'm producing. So good times. Good times. Let's see if I can get out of this, go back to us, and it will be fun. So I got a little cocky here. So we're going to close that. And here we go. We are live. All righty. This is fun, I think, as long as we don't end up in a fiery crash here. It's your old pal EMac, joined on a Sunday. We're going a little early today because in a preemptive move, Detroit moved their game up a couple hours. DraftKings said, nah, we're not changing our start time. We're taking that game out. FanDuel got a FanDuel, though. 12:10 start on FanDuel. For those of you playing season long, I believe the game just started or is about to in London. So if you haven't set your season-long lineups for today, you probably just missed out on your waiver claims. But that's okay because, you know, it's Sunday. Sunday, fun day. Matt, how you doing? Did you take down any massive contests for a third time after appearing on a stochastic show this baseball season?
No, I did not. I had a really good night last night. It wasn't a massive tournament, but no screen shares. I had a tough week. Just a tough week overall in MLB DFS. A couple bigger tournaments. I played that Millie Maker whenever day that was and did not win the Millie. Let's just say that. So it was nice to make it up last night. Took down the 444 on the night slate. So not like the big day slate, but like the 4-gamer. So brought back, a bunch of what I put in this week. So hopefully we can turn that into something really nice today.
Yeah, there we go. I see Ira Pearson has joined. Welcome to Team Stochastic here. For you guys that aren't members of Team Stochastic, no need to do that. You don't have to. You see Tommy Richmond joined as well. That's just the thing that gives you the little access to the little badges, the fun little emojis, etc. It's like 10 cents a day. It's like $1 something or $2 a month on YouTube. So you don't have to join, but if you want to, you can. And that's when you see people gifting out the free subscriptions. It's for this little goofy little emojis, etc. So, but let's cruise on in. One last thing to recap. I went to bed, according to my Fitbit, fell asleep at 9:20, signed off from Discord, went and brushed my teeth at about 9:10, woke up this morning at about 6:30. Oh dear God, 25 runs were scored by the Angels after I fell asleep. I kind of missed out on that fun. Is that what propelled you to your victory last night?
It did. So I actually played a lot of Houston. They were facing Bobby Miller, who was very popular on that slate. Houston was awesome. They put up 7 runs. I was like, damn, all I really need is scores not to just go absolutely off, and I'm looking pretty good. Then I start looking, and once they hit the back-to-back homers on 3 pitches, I was like, uh-oh. But then I realized, I made a couple core stacks, and one of them just had all the right pieces with Houston pieces who did really well. So, yeah, no Ohtani in my Angels stack, but David Fletcher just getting called up, putting up like a 30 bomb, Hunter Renfroe 35, Drury 30. One of the highest scores I've ever put up in MLB DFS. Now, that's just a product of the 25 runs, but I watched a lot of it. It was fun to watch. Embarrassing for Colorado. That is just a tough organization right now.
Yeah, I had done a same game parlay, and all my Angels props made it. None of my Colorado sites did. In that, it was like, oh wow, I think I have a chance. Maybe if the right 2 or 3 Colorado guys got two total bases, I'd be okay. No, all 3 of them didn't get combined. They had 1 total base. I needed 6.
One of the craziest stats I've ever heard when watching a game, and baseball is obviously funny in that every day you watch, you never know what you're going to see. You could see something new. When Bretton Doyle batted for the Rockies in the third inning, it was his first at bat. Every single Angel had batted 3 times and driven in a run.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that was just one of those games. I think it was the 4th highest margin of victory, 3rd highest margin of victory, highest since, I want to say, like early 2000s, maybe 2007. I'm just paraphrasing what I read in the recap article this morning.
Yeah, they put up 13 in the 3rd and 8 in the 4th. They're the first team in the modern era to score 20 runs in 2 innings.
Yeah, just obscene numbers. But we're going to jump on in here and get going. It does look like there is a little bit of overlay brewing there on FanDuel with their early start at 12:10 today. We're going to break down all the games, even though DK, of course, is skipping the game that got moved forward. We'll take a peek at that. And then Coors on the FanDuel? I don't think Coors made the FanDuel slate. So everybody's skipping Coors today. So we're good to go. And most of the games are starting, with the exception of this early one, they're all starting in about 35 minutes from each other, from 1:35 into only 2 o'clock game.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you played the main slate yesterday, the one during the day. I got killed on it. But I love slates like that where they all start like within 5 minutes of each other and there's no later games or anything. I just like slates like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That was so much fun. And then part of the reason I went to bed was I knew I wasn't going to be winning much on that late slate. So I'm like, whatever. I saw the game move forward. I'm like, they're going to do this early. I'm going to have to get up early and write my article before we do our show earlier than expected. So here we are. But let's jump in. Sponsored today by BetMGM. For those of you that have not yet signed up to BetMGM, you can get 30 days of Stochastic Premium, as well as up to $1,000 in bet credits if you go through our link or use the promo code Platinum Sub. All you got to do is create your account over at BetMGM by going through the link in the chat below us, or in the Discord. Too many platforms here. In the YouTube description below us here, or use promo code Platinum Sub. You will get 30 days once you have made your first $10 wager and it settles. That first wager, whatever you make, will get bet credits back if you lose for whatever the amount is. So if you put in 10 and you lose on that wager, they'll get you a $10 bet credit. That goes all the way up to $1,000. So it's like having a second chance to win back there. So it's a pretty good deal. $100+ for the Stochastic subscription, plus you get some risk-free bet actions, or second chance. It's not truly risk-free, but you get 2 shots, 2 bites at the apple. All right, let's jump in here. Twins at Detroit. Detroit's still one of the worst teams in the league over the last season and change against righties. Current hitters have about an 80 WRC plus. They're clawing back a little bit, but still bad. This one's not on FanDuel, probably not on DraftKings, FanDuel only. You got Bailey Ober on the other side. We love going against Detroit. What do you got in this matchup here?
Yeah, I think Bailey Ober is in play, if nothing else here. Don't love this game from a DFS perspective, except for the Ober side potentially. And I think you could take a look at the Minnesota bats. I don't love Ober, but I think he's fine. Again, the matchup's great. Detroit is not very good. We saw Pablo Lopez, who struggled a little bit early last night, still rack up 10 Ks and brought to a really nice fantasy game. I think Bailey Ober is a fine middling option here. He's not my favorite option. He's certainly not out of play. There's certainly guys I like a lot more, but I don't love any pitcher on this slate. So that's why he's in play, if nothing else. Do you see it similarly?
I would, and I am going to play on FanDuel if there is overlay. However, I'm going to need to skip this game because I'm not going to register until just before, as long as it looks like in some of those low dollar contests, it looks like they get about 20% overlay or at least rake free. I'm going to play those, but I might have to skip this game. We then get an hour and a half to set everything up how I want it. So I'm okay with that. If I were playing this, yes, I would probably have Bailey over on about a quarter of my lineups on FanDuel. If this game was at 2:30 on DraftKings like it was supposed to be, or 2:15, whatever it was going to be, I would probably have Bailey over on about 30% of my lineups, mostly as the second pitcher. Alas, that's off the table. But for perspective, since we're not going to circle back on this game, yes, Bailey over would be a very strong option.
It's a little bit difficult to speak on because neither side is in our tools right now because it's not on the DraftKings slate. I think it's one of those weird. But I will say, like, if I were playing the FanDuel slate and not busy right now, I think I would stack some Twins too.
So let's hit a few of those guys. You got Joey Gallo, of course. You got Royce Lewis, the rookie. He's coming along. He's a rookie, but he's batting cleanup. So who are we to complain? You've got Donovan Solano. Usually like him better when he's got the platoon advantage. Who is missing today? You got Carlos Correa. So no Alex Kirilloff,
I think.
And Buxton is out. So that thins it down a little bit there. And then, of course, Jorge Polanco's on the injured list. Those, I think, are the guys. Correa, Lewis, Gallo. Really a three-man stack.
Yeah, Kirilloff, could throw him in there. Yeah, again, I feel like Ober and the Twins are really similar here. They're in play. Wouldn't be surprised if they have a great game, but not excited about it. And there's other better spots on the board.
All right. Well, let's cruise on and get to some of those other spots on the board because we've got plenty of games to talk about here.
Kirilloff not even in the lineup. And if I had been listening to you, I would have known that.
It's okay. That's okay. I'm just going to let that one slide. I'm sure chat's like pitchforks and torches are coming up shortly. But that's okay. Now, we do want to talk a little bit about the weather here. So I'm going to go to the handy dandy weather source that we all like to use. The key things are there's some rain in the Midwest again. So that's why the Detroit game moved early. So that should be implied. There's a little bit of risk in Cincinnati and Cleveland. Looks like those games are not going to be postponed. And if the rain does come, it should be later in the game. So we shouldn't have to worry about pitchers. Of course, in that Cincinnati game, we're probably not looking at pitchers with the amount of offense that's been going on there. And then you've got sort of the East Coast metropolitan areas that are dealing with rain. Baltimore, a little bit of afternoon showers. Philadelphia, more coverage there, and New York, a little bit of afternoon showers there. So again, this is showers, so it's not sustained rain. But when showers are over you, it may as well be sustained rain because it is impacting your locality. So those are the places to watch out for. It's not shaping anything that I'm doing I'm not excluding any of these games. Plus, we still have 2 more hours to look at radar before we have to make a final decision. So that'll be it for the weather discussion. Let's get on to our next game here. Texas at the Yankees. Hat tip to Severino. What did he like? Was it a 1-0 game yesterday? Last time I looked, anyways, that's what it was. I went away from him. Was just like, yeah, I don't want to go to Severino. I totally respect this Rangers offense. He took care of business. Now you got Garrett Cole going against former AL East stalwart and former Yankee Nathan Eovaldi. I don't really want any part of these pitchers. I really don't want any part of this offense. There's better environments and better pitching matchups. Would you get anything from this game?
Yeah, I like all sides more than you.
Okay.
I think this is one of those spots that Adam talks about a lot where you've got really good pitching. Texas is a really good offense. The Yankees are an offense. And I don't think the sides are getting quite as much love as they should. That said, I like the pitchers more than the offenses in this game. I mean, especially considering just who we're working with on this slate, I could see using both guys here. I think Eovaldi looks, I don't know, Eovaldi's too expensive and Cole's the better pitcher, but the matchup is far superior for Cole. I like Cole a lot here. My biggest problem with going to Cole, and this is just, a kind of a nuanced thing in my head, I've been on Texas a lot lately. That's part of the reason I didn't have a great week before last night. Texas hasn't been, Texas has struggled this series. So I hate when I've been riding an offense, getting off of them and then going to the pitcher facing them, just bad juju. But that's just, in my head. On paper, I think you got to like Cole here. I know Glasnow's on this slate and he's getting a lot of love, the highest amount of ownership, going today. I get it. He's a lot cheaper facing the Royals. He hasn't been consistent either. So I like both pitchers in this game. I'm going to go back on what I said when I said I think I like Eovaldi slightly more. I think Cole is the preferred option just because of how close they are in price. And I don't think picking a bat or two from any side of this game is a bad look either, considering how good Texas is. And the Yankees certainly have power, and Eovaldi's not a guy you're scared to pick a batter to against. I think all sides are in play, the pitching more so than the hitting.
All right, looking at, you mentioned the top stack tool. I'm going to take a little peek over at that because, or the top pitchers tool, because, this is one of the many tools we have here at Stochastic. You come in through that BetMGM offer, you get 30 days, all access, everything behind the paywall that is associated with the Stochastic Premium package, which is going to be all things DFS. So looking here, we've got the most popular pitchers on FanDuel. Cole is number 2. At 12%, and then just below him is going to be Wheeler, Kikuchi, and Bradish. They're all between 8 and 10%. Tyler Glasnow, almost triple what Cole has. We'll talk about him in a moment. Eovaldi, completely off the radar, just 2%. So really no leverage there. So I guess the play would be a little bit more for the Texas bats, because kind of to your point here, in a leverage situation, I would be looking at 3- and 4-man stacks against Garrett Cole. In the unlikely event, he gets hammered, right?
Now, he gives up home runs.
He may do that after the game, yes. But if he gives up, if he gives up home runs, and there's a runner or 2 on base, all of a sudden he's looking at 4 or 5 earned runs. This is how you get a leg up on the field. He still will probably have a middling score that is not going to torpedo you, but this is how you can advance against a large portion of the field, because at least 30% of the field will not have Texas, probably more than that, probably closer to 80% of the field. It's not Texas. So that would be your path towards being different, but then you got to beat up, or you got to top all of the other offenses. Maybe you have a secondary stack from Philly, Tampa, Cincinnati, Atlanta, the other games we're going to be talking about here.
That's big problem I have with Texas, and I love Texas. I think they're right there with Tampa as the best offense in baseball. The guys that you want to go to, Corey Seager, he's 6,200. So, you're really paying for it. It's really hard to get there. I get it as a contrarian look. It's not something I'll be playing given the price tags.
All right, let's continue along here. We've got the Mariners in Baltimore taking on the Orioles. George Kirby on the bump for Seattle. You've got Kyle Bradish, who's had a couple good starts, a couple bad starts. He's a decent pitcher. You have a little bit more strikeouts here coming from the Mariners. Mariners are a good lineup, not exactly terrifying. Outside really of Julio Rodriguez, just a bunch of good hitters that do strike out. So that is favorable for Kyle Bradish. This one, it's going to be very, very warm. I'm about 40 miles south of Baltimore, or kind of south/east of Baltimore. It is so hot and humid already. This one is going to be in the mid to upper 80s, and humidity is going to be relatively high for what we've seen. It's not July humidity yet, but it's more so than what we've seen most of this spring, as we're kind of flipping the page over here to summer. So that means a better offensive environment for Camden Yards, which after they made those renovations, we saw how those played out last year, turned it more into a neutral park for the cooler games. Once we get into the summer, it's like the Nationals Park and St. Louis, and a variety of these parks just turn into hitters' paradises because of the heat and humidity, so which allows the ball to go farther, etc. So this one, I'm okay with either. I'm not forcing anything in. I just did a quick run on FanDuel. Doesn't look like I'm really getting anything from this game. DraftKings, I am getting secondary stacks from this game. What do you like as a hand builder who's just honing in on very specifics here? Are these guys going to make your short list?
They definitely could. It depends how many lineups I make. Baltimore, no. Baltimore's got a ton of power and speed upside. So, if you want to go there, they're similar to Texas for me, in a better spot because Cole at this point is far superior than Kirby. Seattle, they're definitely in play. They're so cheap on DK. Crawford leading off at 2,900. JP France is like 3,400. I know there's a couple other teams that are cheaper and offer even better value. I don't even know if you need better value than that. So Seattle stands out as a really cheap stack in a pretty good spot. Bradish isn't a guy I need to go out of my way to pick on, but certainly not afraid of him either. So I think if you end up on Seattle, you're doing just fine.
All right. Any batters of Birdland for you here?
This is another team. They're expensive. So like Gunnar Henderson, I like him a lot always, but he's 4,800 facing a good pitcher in Kirby. No thanks.
All right. That's actually reasonably priced. We're going to get to some of the other hitters on DraftKings that they've got some people playing like they're in Coors Field, and they're not in Coors Field. So,
no,
how they used to price actually. Coors Field. Yeah, they've got
when I said that, sorry to cut you off, I was thinking about Seager's price tag, and obviously Seager should be more, but 6,200 is quite a bit more than 48. So I'm with you. Baltimore is like expensive, but in the context of this slate, they're not that expensive. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And you got Cedric Mullin, who returned from the injured list last night. Or yesterday afternoon, he hit leadoff. He's hitting leadoff again. To the salary aspect, we've got 4 hitters on Philadelphia that are 5,300 or more. You've got 3 on Toronto that are in that bucket. 3 on the Rays that are in that bucket. 5. Count them. 5. The first 5 in the Atlanta order are 5,100 or higher. You also have 5 in Cincinnati that are 5,000 or higher. So there's some goosed salaries. Now, what makes all these other stacks work, and we'll call it the place, there's some egregiously underpriced players on this team. You may not get someone quite as adjacent as you want to these other stacks, but they're going to quickly average down the cost of your per player stack. So while it does seem, oh my God, we're never going to be able to make this work, spoiler alert, we're going to be able to make this work. We may have to forego one of the spots to a less than stellar option, but they're still going against those same pitchers. So that's what we're going to want to see. All right, continuing along here, Mets at Philadelphia. Zach Wheeler, I was reading some industry articles today, and they had him as one of the top 3 ranked pitchers. I did not get there myself, not knocking it, but just it's a good reminder that Wheeler's a pretty good pitcher. I still am good with the Mets. I think they're a solid team. I don't want to take them against them, but I don't want to tangle with them either. I would say Wheeler will be capped out on my DK around 15 or 20% of my lineups. So probably we'll end up getting him on about 10 or 15 when I do something like that with everybody else. So he'll be in my player pool, not somebody I'm pushing for. I have zero interest in Carlos Carrasco. I do like the Philadelphia bats, Harper, Turner, Schwarber, Castellanos, Real Muto. Those would be the keys. Your cost averaging down player would be Brandon Marsh, who's 3,300. Easy way to average that stuff down. You could really skimp with Edmund Sosa, though I don't want to burn a third base slot on him, but that would be a way to get that stack down. So I guess for me, it's all Philly all the time. But good God, is this a Laffy or an Aton show here? What's going on? When did I become a Phillies backer?
Philly looks good here for sure. We talked about Carrasco last week. I think I love him as a baseball player, but he's not so.
Yes, because you went into your whole Guardians.
I tried.
Love. Yes,
I did. Anytime I can talk about my Guardians love or Cleveland sports love, I will take that chance and run with it. Okay, so here's this is kind of combining the points you just talked about. So there are a bunch of expensive offenses on this slate. Philly's one of them, top of their order. I think a lot of the expensive ownership gets funneled to Atlanta. I know our ownership kind of has it split. I'd be surprised if Atlanta wasn't far and away the most owned team today, based on how they've been, based on the spot they're in, based on the fact that other offenses are also really expensive. So it's not like they stand out as being expensive. And I think because of that, a team like Philly takes an ownership hit, and I like them a lot here. Another thing I like about Philly, besides the fact that they're just in a really good spot, they saw Scherzer yesterday. Now they get Cookie Carrasco today. Quite a bit of a downgrade there. And they weren't awful against Scherzer yesterday. So I think these guys are seeing the ball decent. I like Philly in this spot. I think that they're a top 5 stack for sure. They're not the top stack on the board, but they're right there, and they won't get a ton of love. In fact, we have them going under-owned in our top stack tool.
All right, continue moving along here. I see somebody wants to know about the Boston Chicago White Sox game. We're gonna have to wait till we get there, but we'll do our best to speed along here. But here's a good one to talk about. We've got the Oakland Athletics in Toronto. We've got the Blue Jays here with UC Kikuchi taking on the Athletics. So we are going to like Kikuchi. There's no question about it. Now, here are the caveats around him. My notes say he's always a roller coaster ride. If he's locating pitches and limiting walks, he tends to survive when he gives up the inevitable home runs. I'm a Mariners fan. He was with the Mariners for a long time. He does allow home runs. He also only throws about 85 to 88 pitches per start. That's a little bit challenging because that, you may feel that his salary it's cheap, but it only works out if he's getting the strikeouts. And when he gives up the home runs, that they do not have runners on base. So he has walk issues as well. He has avoided that recently. In 4 of his last 5 starts, he has allowed 2 runs. And then in his last start, he had a 6-inning shutout Tuesday against the Marlins. Only 9 walks during this. So he lucked out when the 5 home runs happened. He only gave up 8 total runs. He's good, but he's going to break your heart from time to time. Oakland, on the other side, we think they're bad against righties. They're horrible against lefties. That's an 81 WRC plus since the beginning of last year. Very little power, 104 ISO. That's 0.023 behind your Guardians, 0.032 behind Miami. Why is that? Well, Ramon Mariano, I'd take him out of the numbers because he's out. He's on the injured list. He's not healthy. So now we're looking at Brent Rooker, who is incredibly overperforming at this point. Just play Kikuchi. Just play him, and just then when you get gut punched, just acknowledge that that's going to happen from time to time with him. I've resigned myself that is now the case with Kikuchi is the left-handed Berrios.
I think Berrios is much better than Kikuchi. Am I wrong there?
No, the gut punch part.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's
Berrios is more, I'm staying away from him. Damn it, he had another good start. Whereas Kikuchi is like, all right, I'm going to. God, he burned me again, right? So it's you're just always unhappy with the outcome, right?
It's really surprising to see Kikuchi with a higher top 2 pitcher ranking than Corbin Burns. Didn't think I'd see that this season, but here we are. He is cheap, even given your concerns about the pitch count, which are valid for sure. Given the context of the slate, he's inexpensive in a really good matchup with Oakland. Looks like most people are going to pair Glass now with either Kikuchi or Perez. It's going to be the chalky combo today. As I look at this slate right now, I don't think I'll do that. I think I'll zig where others are zagging and spend up on pitching and try to find more, cheap bats that hopefully we talk about. Might be difficult today though, because we did already. There's a lot of expensive stacks. So, as you also alluded to, there's always ways to fill in with value pieces. Every team pretty much has guys that are underpriced. So there's ways to do it. On paper, I think Kikuchi is, probably the second best pitcher on the pitching option on the slate behind Glass now. Certainly not the second best pitcher, but his price tag. We talked about these offenses. Him and Glass now paired together is $16K even. You're going to need pairing like that if you want to stack one of these expensive offenses. So I certainly get it, and it makes sense.
Yep. The one sad part about the Toronto offense, no Brandon Belt today because he is 2,800 on DK, and he does have outfield eligibility now. So you can play him with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. when they're both in the lineup together. But Belt is not in the lineup today. You do have Kevin Kiermaier. I always like to say he hits home runs on Sunday. I don't know that he really does, but let's just say he does. I think he did have like a 3 home run game one Sunday back with the Tampa Bay Rays once upon a time.
I'm surprised he ever had.
I could be wrong. I may be misremembering that. I may have conflated him and Brandon Nimmo somehow, even though they never really crossed paths. God, Kevon Biggio, $2,500 on DraftKings. So you could play Biggio and Kiermaier for less than pretty much Chapman, Guerrero, Bichette, and Springer. Yeah. Sadly, we can't stack them into the same lineup spot because that would take 8 at-bats from them than 4 from the others. But we don't get to do that. But that's our dollar cost averaging play of the day. Yikes.
I think Toronto – I know Toronto was the team I was talking about when we were on Philly and how I think ownership's going to get funneled to Atlanta. Yesterday, we saw similar top stack percentages with Toronto coming projected to be over-owned. They were not over-owned yesterday. They came in pretty much all under 10%. Vlad was like 4.5%. Homered again. It's 2 games in a row. As we have it right now, Toronto's coming in over-owned as the second highest owned team on the slate, behind only not even worrisome at all anyways. But I don't even think it'll get there. So I do like Toronto here. Medina is not good. Talked about it a bunch on this show. I know every time he pitches, we like stacking against him because he's not very good. I know he had a decent game against Cleveland, but Cleveland stinks. Toronto is much better than Cleveland. Awful park shift for Medina here. There's a lot to like about Toronto. On paper, they're another top 5 stack. Where you want to put them in there is kind of up to you. But they're certainly in play for me here. I'd have no problem if I were making one lineup and I ended up on Toronto.
Did you know that Luis Medina has actually not allowed a home run in his 4 June starts?
I did not know that. That's surprising.
That's the silver lining. He has gone a grand total of 16 innings, still allowing 13 runs, 7.31 ERA.
Yeah, Tampa hit him really hard, but no home runs. I remember that.
Yeah, and I because I think it was his 4 May games. He had like 8 home runs, or he had at least 3 multi-home run games, if I remember correctly.
So, that's really funny though, because you're right. He got shelled by Miami with no home runs.
Yeah, I was shocked because if you go look at his FIP, it's about half of what his ERA is. But I'm like, no, there's no underlying goodness in this. He's still only 25. He has a chance. He profiles better. Yeah. He's a multi-inning reliever type. He's a 2 or 3 inning guy, to me, is what it looks like. But
agreed.
Oakland's going to run him out every day. They don't have enough relievers to put an opener in front of everybody, I think. If you were taking any leverage plays against Kikuchi because he is so popular, doing a little home run hunting, who is it going to be for you? I think Rooker is the wrong call. By the way,
I was going to say maybe Rooker, but that's not my call. My call, and he hasn't been good this year. I mean, not many guys in the Oakland lineup have been good. Trying to see, he's only got 2 homers, but he's been hurt for a bit. Aledmus Diaz, known lefty masher. I guess you could say. It makes me laugh just to even say that. Not a lefty masher, but has always been better against left-handed pitching. This is a guy that came up with a decent amount of power. Kikuchi
if you go back to his Cardinals days, he was a same-handed splits guy, which is funny. He's evolved. He's much like his positional eligibility on the variety of teams he's played. He's very malleable.
I mean, listen, he's not having a great year. There's not much from this Oakland lineup that I'd want to pick on, but he's 2,100 hitting cleanup. So all of a sudden, Kikuchi walks a couple guys. He homers or gets an RBI double in the first inning. You're set. You don't even need any more from him.
All right, Steven, I know. I as soon as I said that, I knew he probably didn't hit 3 home runs. It still felt fun to say it.
He did.
In any event, the rest of the information you hear on the show will be true, including the opportunity to get another 30 days of Stochastic Premium. That's by doing the Stochastic Avatar opportunity here. So go to stochastic.com/avatar, download the Stochastic Avatar, upload that to your DFS side of choice, finish top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 contestants. That's first, second, or third. No massive ties or trains at the top, but a true top 3 finish, and you will get 30 days of Stochastic Premium. All you got to do is take a screenshot of your victory, displaying your Stochastic Avatar. Send that on Twitter to Stochastic HOF, and we will feature you on the Stochastic Hall of Fame segment that runs Monday through Friday, courtesy of Dave Loughy Loughran, but courtesy of us with your victory with our avatar. That's 30 days of Stochastic Premium for you. So jump on in that. They are still doing, this is the last day of the penny contests over there on DraftKings. Finish first in one of those, and you are going to get 30 days because, them's the rules. We said entry fee doesn't matter. So jump in some of those contests, roll the dice. You're going to be playing thousands of entries when you're going against them, but it's still fun. Check that out. That is the Stochastic Avatar promotion. Okay, we are getting back into the fun. Another good game here. Tampa Bay hosting the Royals. You got Tyler Glasnow on the bump. Glasnow is so here's the challenge with Glasnow. He missed late February. He got a strained an oblique. So he put him behind getting ready for everything this season. So he has made I think half a dozen starts. So today's going to be his sixth start. So in his last start, he got gobsmacked a little bit by the Orioles, allowed 6 earned runs and 2 home runs. The great thing about him is he has an 11.7 strikeout per 9 inning rate. The challenge is he basically is throwing around 85 pitches per game at this point in time. So he ends up grading out close to Yuri Perez, who we'll talk about, and Yusei Kikuchi when you put him in for that appropriate workload. So I still think he's a great option. Plus, he has, unlike those other guys, he does have the Tampa Bay offense going against or behind him, which is the best offense or second best offense in baseball. I mean, Toronto's pretty darn good, but the Rays are minus 260 to get the win. So I think things are lining up there for Glasnow, but you're not getting 95 pitches from him today. That's my only comment I have. You could.
Might. I mean, he threw 95 2 starts ago against Oakland. I think that. So how I look at it is I'm unsure. I think you're correct, but also, he came up. Not surprising, in his first start, he only threw 83 pitches, ramped up a bit to 88, then threw 84 in his best start against Texas. Then he wasn't great against Oakland and threw 94. Took him a while. He labored in that game. And then last start, he only threw 85. Baltimore got to him a bit. I think that you'd be silly if you expect him to throw 100 or 95 even, but I don't think that's out of the question here. I think that you expect between 85 and 90. Anything more is icing on the cake. And the more I look at this slate, the more I understand why Glasnow is just getting so much love. He's too cheap. He's in a good spot. The other great pitchers on this slate are in tough spots. I mean, Wheeler is in a tough spot against the Mets. He's more expensive. Talked about Cole and Eovaldi. I think Glasnow makes a lot of sense here. He hasn't been as sharp or as crisp as he's been in previous years, but it is a good spot. He's too cheap, and with expensive bats, he just makes a lot of sense. So as far as chalk pitching goes, I definitely prefer him over Kikuchi.
All right. How are you feeling about the bats there? You've got, they have like 8, I'm going from memory, I think 8 players have double-digit home runs, and that doesn't include Brandon Lau, who has, I think he's got 8 or 9. He's on the injured list. Yeah. So this is, it's crazy. You've got Jose Siri in the mix there. Isaac Paredes is, Harold Ramirez is, Wander Franco isn't on that list, or at least he wasn't as of a couple days ago, but he's got like 24 stolen bases. So, are we going to complain? No, he had a little bit of didn't he get benched the other game from his coach? A little bit of an attitude adjustment there, but he's in the lineup today. This is an amazing lineup from Tampa Bay. They're good, and then you've got the Paredes, Margot, Siri, Betancourt, Taylor Walls that just outproduce what their skill set says they should be doing. That's part of the Tampa Bay magic, I guess. It's that extra 2%. I love Tampa Bay. We need a moment of levity here. What is your take here on the Rays?
I mean, honestly, what's not to love? The only thing not to love is the price tags. They're expensive, the guys you want. Franco back in the lineup yesterday, homered in his first at bat, now up to 9 homers. So he's almost there with your other guys. They're coming in. The thing to love about them, too, of the top, 5, 6 teams in top stack percentage, they're actually ranked 5th. They're coming in with a ton of leverage because they're so expensive. They might even be less owned than that because of what I said, that a lot of that expensive ownership is going to get funneled to Atlanta. Not saying that Tampa will be under-owned, but you look at a guy like a Rosarena, who's the second highest priced outfielder behind only Acuna. Like, who's going to get more ownership, Acuna or a Rosarena? It's not even close.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And that's why I like that these popular stacks each have somebody over $6,000 on DraftKings. It's
a fun slate.
It is. We all deal with the same puzzle. Would it be more fun if maybe those guys capped out around 55, 5,600 and there weren't the cheapies on their lineups were like 3,400? Probably.
I think you're dealing with the same thing then, basically.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's
like you said, everyone's dealing with the same puzzle. That's how I like to think of it too. Like there's definitely certain slates where I like them better. I feel more comfortable with them. But as you just said, everyone's working with the same thing. And that's what makes it so fun.
All righty. So we don't want to take Daniel Lynch. There's just no form or fashion or reason to do that. Do you want to take anybody against Glass now? We're back to the kind of the leverage conversation. And I think it would be probably Bobby Witt. Of course, he's their best hitter, so that's not a stretch. Probably MJ Melendez, who's finally getting a little bit better at the plate. And I guess Nick Prado. Notice how I left out Salvi Perez. 5,400 for Salvi Perez. If Glasnow was a lefty, then maybe we're talking about Sal Pal.
That's my problem with Witt. Also, 5,500 for him. I think Prado is probably the first guy you'd look at leading off at 3,400 from the left side. Melendez would be second, hitting cleanup at only 3,100. Then the other, I guess 3 guys I don't hate would be the 5 through 7, Miguel Garcia, Edward Olivares, and Drew Waters. Waters is on fire. He's crushed the Rays in this series. Olivares homered yesterday. Miguel Garcia is also seeing the ball really well right now. All these guys have power, speed, upside. So I'm not excited about it at all. But they were part of takedowns yesterday. That same crew, Waters, Garcia, Olivares, all of them. Well, I know Olivares and Waters homered. And like I said, they've got speed upside as well. All that being said, this is not somewhere I'm going to get. They are really cheap, though. If you are using like Cole and Eovaldi and pairing those guys and fading Glass now, that's where I could see using a couple of those guys.
All righty, let's continue marching on. We've got 4 more games to go. Again, this is a 12-10 lock time for FanDuel, who is including the Minnesota at Detroit game, which was bumped up a couple hours to get ahead of the rain. That game has been pulled from the DraftKings slate. They're starting at their standard 1:35 time. What this is going to do is create a little bit of overlay there on FanDuel because things are going earlier than expected, and we're at least rake free in some of these contests. So keep tabs on that. You've got 30 minutes to make your decision before you jump on. Then there are 28, but keep tabs on that if you're doing a little overlay chasing like I am looking at doing here. I'll probably enter these in about 10 or 15 minutes if it seems like everything's holding with the same trajectory I'm expecting it to. And then I'm going to skip that first game because, the show is more important than my lineups because this is why we're here for you guys. So I say that now. I can't tell you how many hundreds of dollars I've cost myself by being on these shows up until lock. I mean, just by like lighting things on fire, upload errors, let alone just the lesser lineups that I'm building, but just outright errors that have screwed up. Multiple NFL showdown slates where I've run my cash lineup and everything. Just not good times, but it's fun. We're talking about sports here and I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are as well. Hit that like button and put some of your home run calls there into the chat. I'd like to see that. Obi-Wan, let's see who are you giving the home run trophy to today? Obi-Wan. Let's talk about Corbin Burns. Was it last Sunday that we said a lot of good things about him, and then he just ripped out our hearts and showed it to us while it was still beating, or was that Saturday?
I don't think so because I know last Sunday Peralta was on the slate, and we
you're right about him. You're right. Burns just broke my hopes and dreams. We're going back to him today. Awful. We're going back to him today against the Guardians. Guardians don't strike out a lot. Guardians don't have a lot of power either, and basically bottom 3 numbers, and they don't score a lot of runs. We want the strikeouts, though. We're getting Burns at 9,100 on DraftKings. He's now become a pivot away from Glasnow, et cetera. Could he? Was this just a little bit of a rough patch? We saw Freddie Peralta right the ship. Perhaps Corbin Burns will as well, and he's what? 2021 Cy Young Award winner, so it's not even 3 years ago he was the Cy Young Award winner. So I think we can look at him. Aaron Savale, I think he's an okay secondary pitcher. SP2. I haven't done all my lineups here on DK, or haven't even really started, although we do have all but one of the lineups in now. I suspect he will be a decent SP2 for me. I'll probably cap him around 20%, but at 7,700, I have a hard time seeing him coming in below wherever I set the cap. So I'm okay with that. No need for him on FanDuel. in any form or fashion here. How are you feeling about Burns? Because if he was pitching like he was last year, he would be right in the conversation with Glass now, and we'd probably call him a safer option than Kikuchi today. Yet here we are. We're not.
Not feeling as good about him as you are. I mean, it's just not a great spot either. Cleveland is not an offense I'm scared of at all. They don't really strike out, though. It's hot here today.
I forgot Homer alert.
No, not even. I mean, I've said it. Cleveland stinks. So not if there's a pitch. I mean, listen, I'd play Burns over the Cleveland side in this game for sure. It's just, I'm not sure I want to spend 9,100 on him. It's telling that he's under, you say, Kikuchi as far as the top pitchers, as far as the top pitcher tool goes. I don't know. He's not getting any ownership, which is the interesting part. He's coming in with the lowest ownership of basically any pitcher on the slate outside of like the guys that really stink, Crawford, Lynch, Carrasco, and Medina. Like the lowest. I mean, he's coming in with 1.8% ownership. That in itself gets me kind of excited, but not enough where I think I'm going to get there. I don't know. Maybe I'm off here.
When you look at his 23% strikeout rate this year compared to his 30% strikeout rate last year,
it's concerning.
That's the telling, the tail of the tape, right? That's the tough part. So SP2, yes. Where do we have him on the field? That will be looking at the top pitchers tool.
Like, it's interesting to me that Charlie Morton, and this is both in the FanDuel top pitcher tool and the DraftKings, Charlie Morton at similar price points, a little bit more expensive, is much higher.
It's because the top pitchers tool does not take into account that Cincinnati is now awesome, and they're 12-1 in their last 13 games. It doesn't seem to influence them. That influences me. It doesn't influence the top stacks tool.
I get it.
I wanted to see where Burns is on leverage. So Burns actually has a really good leverage score. He's coming in with a 10% chance of being a top two pitcher on DK. Well, there's two pitchers, right, that we care about. He has 2% ownership. That's a 9% leverage score. That is the second highest score behind only Charlie Morton. Okay, let's go toe to toe. Would you take Burns or Morton against this high-flown team? I think that's where you were going to go, and you were starting to look at Charlie Morton, and I chimed in and ruined the flow. So back.
I don't even think it's close for me. I like Morton significantly more. The matchup is much scarier for Morton, and I think the blow-up concern is there's a higher percentage of time where Cincinnati just blows him up. But I look at a guy like Morton, I just trust him more. His last start against Colorado was not good. I mean, he got some bad calls. He got hit around a little bit. Still ended up with close to 20 DK points just because of his moxie. Like, I feel good about him when I put him out there. Obviously, that doesn't mean anything. And the long and short of it is I probably won't use either. But I would use Morton over Burns here.
Okay. How would you go, Morton or Wheeler? That's a question there from Anthony in chat.
Man, on paper, I think it's Wheeler, but the top pitcher tool, and again, I don't use this stuff as gospel, but when we've got something like this where Morton is basically coming in with the same percentage as the top guys on this slate, Glasnow and Cole, and his ownership, I mean, he's a fifth of he's like a sixth or seventh as owned as Glasnow, like a quarter of his owned as Cole. Morton might be like where I make a stand today, given like the ownership or lack thereof.
All right, let's have some fun here. Let me see if I can get the producer. They're asking for the top stacks tool to become visible here. So let me see if I can get our producer to figure out how to share screens and bring in the top stacks tool. Look at that. I think it's.
And I will say, the other thing, speaking on the top stacks tool, that's very interesting. Cincinnati's at the bottom.
Yes. And so I was looking at Charlie Morton's. I wanted to see. I thought he was 39 years old. He is 39 years old. Still has that nice ground ball rate, induces enough weak contact, and gets enough strikeouts to be interesting. He could be the cold bucket of reality on the Cincinnati, this very, very young, very talented, and suddenly all plateauing at the same time. Cincinnati Reds offense. So that I find him to kind of be intriguing. That's the fear against the Cincinnati offense is him, because he could come in and definitely keep him in check. But if we look here at, again, this is some of your premium tools here. So I'm going to click on FanDuel. It'll take us down here to the main slate. And you can see this is our top stack. So these different categories here, we say, where is the pitcher being owned? So this shows us where can I find some leverage, direct leverage against the pitcher. So no big surprise that would be Kansas City going against Glasnow. We kind of talked about that. The leverage score is showing what is the difference between their ownership and their likelihood of being a top stack. So you can see that Tampa Bay actually has the best leverage score of the teams that we mentioned, because everybody wants to go to Atlanta. So you can see them down at the bottom. Everybody wants Atlanta today. We'll talk about them next, but you can kind of see the differences there. This is all math, right? This is how you learn to understand the probabilities, to understand outcomes, range of outcomes, right? We're trying to guess on what's going to happen for a very specific day. This is already an incredibly variant sport that even doing a 7-game series may or may not tell you who the true best team is. And we're trying to pick one day. So right. You just have to embrace that sort of stuff.
I will say
the tools.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry. I thought you were done.
No, that's it.
The thing about Cincinnati, or Morton, I should say, I would like him even more if Cincinnati were getting love. And part of the reason they're at the bottom of the top stack tool is because they're so expensive. Their prices had been rising a little bit. They haven't gone down at all today, and they're facing Morton. So if they were getting love, I'd like Morton even more. I can't imagine Cincinnati gets much ownership at all today, given their price tags.
All righty. Let's anything else you want to mention?
We didn't talk about the Braves offense, really.
Well, we're sliding there in a sec, because I'm going to say some bad things about Levi Stout first.
Okay.
Or not some bad things. How about just the truth? Let's start there. So he was a 3rd-round draft pick by the Mariners back in the 2019 season, or MLB draft. He was dealt last summer as part of the Luis Castillo deal. So he has had a couple cups of coffee this year. 2 spot starts, got his ass kicked. 10.3 ERA, 2.1 WHIP, just been horrible. He has been back down in AAA over his last 4 outings. So 4 starts, he's gotten 39 outs. That's it. Just 13 total innings in those 4 starts. Only 8 strikeouts, 7 walks, 4 extra base hits, and he's coming back up for a spot start. This is why we love the Braves. Sorry, Levi and Levi's family, but this is why we love the Braves. And thank you, DraftKings, for making these guys very, very, very expensive. Appreciate that.
They're still going to be really highly owned, as evidenced by our top stack tool. I mean, they're in a great spot. They're in my opinion, the best spot on paper, on the slate, just because of how good their offense is. You talked about Tampa having the best offense, and then you corrected yourself, and maybe Toronto. You should have corrected yourself again and said, not Toronto. I meant Atlanta or Texas.
I meant for the season. For the season.
Oh, so you would take Toronto over Atlanta?
Today?
No,
yes.
For the season.
No.
Any season.
No, you're right. It really should be Atlanta. But
okay,
for the
that's
time being,
that's all I needed to hear. Is I was really.
But if we look at total bases, on base percentage, all this stuff that nobody else looks at because they're not the splashy numbers, it's Tampa Bay.
Yeah, for sure. So back to Atlanta. They're in a great spot. Levi Stout is not good. Atlanta's an elite offense, if not the best. One of the best offenses. What's interesting to me is they're right at the top of top stack score. A top stack percentage, but they're not like blowing away the field. Boston and Toronto have the exact same top stacks percentages they do. Philly's right behind them. And as I mentioned before, I think a lot of this ownership is going to get funneled to Atlanta, even more so than we show on our tools. So Atlanta is going to be probably a fade for me. It doesn't feel good I don't feel good about it, but it's baseball. And the math ain't mathin' for Atlanta in GPPs today for me.
No, that's totally fair. For those on the overlay watch, it looks like the quarter 150 max on FanDuel, locking in 15 minutes is gonna fill. The nickel, their 5-center, the wiffle ball, probably gonna fall about 5 to 7% short, would be my guess. So if you guys are chasing a little overlay, that would be the way to go. Let me see. Do I want to enter these? No, I'm not going to. It's just extra work for myself. So I'm going to close out on my FanDuel tab, or I'll keep it open, I guess, so I can tell you guys overlay in 10 minutes here. Any last thoughts about Cincinnati offense? I mean, they've been phenomenal. The fact that both of these teams have put up 17 runs in the last 36 hours, that's pretty cool. Do the wheels come off the wagon today?
I don't know if the wheels come off the wagon. It's just the price tags make it such where it's really hard to get to these guys. You got one cheap bat in Will Benson. Other than that, Steer, De La Cruz, Fraley, Votto, the 3 through 6 are all above 5K. De La Cruz approaching 6K. McClain is 4,900. Friedel leading off 4,400. It's not going to be where I allocate my funds here. I'm more on the Morton side. I think on paper, though, it's probably just to stay away on both sides.
All right. I see someone asking a good question. I'll answer this as we continue for our last two games for FanDuel, since it is locking here. I think there is no cheap pitcher that I'd really want on FanDuel, but we don't need to go as extremely cheap. The lowest point per dollar guys, I think you look at Aaron Savale a little bit there. I think you see Kikuchi is 8,800. He's going to be very popular, but he's $100 more than Savale. And then Bailey Ober, but he's really not cheap at 9,700. He's 300 less than Glass now. That would be your direct pivot. Less people getting in on this one, just because that game's starting here shortly. And Bailey Ober is really not being talked about today because the game's not on any other site except for FanDuel right now. So I think those would be your cheap ones. Kyle Bradish at 6,400 would be your lowest raw dollar guy, but he's 14th expected fantasy points on this, and we're fractionalizing it. He's like that third tier down.
Yeah, Bailey Ober. We talked about him at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how expensive it was.
It's not cheap. I mean, I was trying to answer the cheap question.
No, I was saying no, Bailey Ober, based on what you just said, I don't even know if I'd play him at all. Like that 9,700 price tag. I thought he was going to come in maybe about $1,000 cheaper than that.
Like 81, 84 or somewhere in there. Yeah. But he doesn't have the strikeout stuff inherently that Glass now does, that even Kikuchi does. He could get it in this matchup, but it's not his main skill set. That's what makes it a little harder to go to. Okie dokie. Let's we're going to talk about the lineup generator here. The producer's going to do a screen share now that the producer, two thumbs pointed, this guy knows how to do the screen share. We're going to talk about that. We're going to wrap up these last two games. We'll look at that for DraftKings. We've got Pittsburgh in Miami. You've got Yuri Perez, who is going to be one of our top 3 pitchers. I wrote him up in the free Spotlight Pitchers and Top Stacks article. I'm going to drop the link to that for you in the YouTube chat there. That's free every day on the Stochastic homepage. Yuri Perez, this will be his 8th or 9th start. He jumped up from Double-A. The word around the campfire is this may be his last start until after the All-Star break. They're looking at limiting his innings just a little bit. He had, I'm going from memory here, I should have clicked on my article myself, but I closed out the window after I copied it. I believe he has 71 or 2 innings this season, 41 in the majors, 31 in Double-A. He got promoted up when, who was it? Rogers got injured, Cueto got injured, somebody else got injured. So he's sticking around. But for his career, he's only 20, so not much of a career. He had 2 years ago, he had like 77 innings, and last year I think he had 78. So he's already like at his career max. If you watch him, he's fun to watch. He's kind of gangly. He's like 6'8" or 6'9", 220 pounds. He's going to fill out. He's going to be dominant, but his control comes and goes. He rates as a 50 out of 70 on control. He will get better. But that's not going to impact him today. If things go sideways, I could see them just pulling him and just being, all right, we're going to just, they won't shut him down, but they're going to maintain him without pitching for a couple weeks just so they can help with this.
I've heard varying reports on that about them shutting him down. What exactly they're going to do, I don't know, but something soon, because you're right. He's already basically at where his career high in innings is at. Do you think that affects him today? I know he's not a guy with a really long leash anyways, but do you think that affects him at all today?
No, unless it just is like, this is just a bad, it just things go sideways.
Right. I think that he's not going to be given like the benefit of the doubt, like a guy like Morton, where he's going to be able to work out of it.
Correct.
That said, he's been dominant, especially.
He's been really, really good.
Yeah, he's really good. He's so fun to watch, as you mentioned. He just has elite strikeout upside. Are you with me?
Yes.
Sorry, I lost you for a second. So yeah, his price tag also stands out. He's, $2K less than Cole. He's getting the third most amount of ownership on the slate behind Kikuchi and Glass now. And it makes sense. I like him quite a bit here, especially considering the other options. Cash, GPPs, I think he's one of the top options in all formats.
All right, let's talk offense here. Johan Oviedo, actually a decent pitcher. Miami much improved on offense. I mean, it helped. I mean, God, imagine if they had Chisholm, if he wasn't hurt. They'd be looking pretty good here. Their offense does fall off with the back three, but when you got Luis Arias getting on base constantly, that's very helpful. A lot of competent hitters with Cooper, De La Cruz, Sanchez. You can even put Gurriel in that mix, although we have to put him in that mix. He won the batting title, 2 years ago? The American League batting title while he was with Houston. How old do you think he really is? He's in 36 or 37. Yeah, 50. He's the Julio Franco of this era. Nothing. I've talked myself out of everybody here. If I was taking anybody against Perez, it would be Carlos Santana, Ji Hwang Bae, and and Andrew McCutcheon. That's really it.
So I always, whenever these top prospects or not, come up and they're making their second, third, fourth start, and people really start riding them because they've been good, like a Bobby Miller last night, I often think it's an advantage to go with the offense against them. I don't think that's the case here at all today. Perez has proven he's a legitimate top-end starter. Sure, any pitcher can get blown up, but given the ballpark here, just the Pittsburgh offense, one of the like last teams I would stack today is Pittsburgh. I just don't see it.
All right, I lied. I'm playing on FanDuel. There you go.
Are you playing the Minnesota game though?
No, I'm not.
So you're just going to set a dummy lineup or dummy lineup?
Yeah, I've got one. I was poised. I got to take the chance here on some of this overlay. So there we go. It's entering my contest now because we're going to show the lineup generator, and so I'm going to start doing that, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Last game of the afternoon, the only game in the 2:00 hour. You've got Cutter Crawford in Chicago. We're not entirely sure who the starter is at this point. A couple placeholders have Tanner Banks. I didn't go dig in to see if they were going to call anybody up or if this was going to be a bullpen game because
I see Tuki Toussaint now either coming in behind Banks or starting.
Is he a lefty or a righty?
He's a righty. He's been around for a while.
Which makes sense because Banks is a lefty. So if they're going to do it, just do that early.
Sure.
Switch of the flip. Flip the switch.
And he got picked up by Chicago. I know Cleveland DFA'd him after he made one start for Cleveland, and he pitched for them once, and I think he came in after an opener. I'm not positive on that though.
All right. So point being 5.3 implied run total for Boston. Look to them up and down the lineup. I'm okay with it. Obviously Devers, Duvall, Yoshida are going to be your key guys. Justin Turner somehow found the fountain of youth because he is hitting home runs and stealing bases. And what is he, like 38 now? Did not expect to see that this season, yet here he is. Those would be the guys I'd look to there. Cutter Crawford, I don't really like. He is, I guess he's getting more stretched out per se, but your price per pitch is not great, and he's even when he's 5,700 here on DK. That The 5 implied run total for the White Sox, I think, tells you the whole story. It's hitters or bust in here. It's going to be almost 90 degrees in Chicago today. It's a hitter's paradise. What
Lots to like on both sides.
About our last game, both sides? Okay.
Both
break
sides.
It down.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, break it down. I'm going to get the lineup generator set up here.
All right, cool. So both offenses are wildly in play. Boston looks better to me. They're getting similar ownership. Chicago has a lesser top stack percentage. The reason they're owned about the same is because of the value that Chicago offers. I will say, though, just looking at the slate as a whole, things changed a little bit. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I just reloaded the top stack tool. It updated 3 minutes ago. And Atlanta's so far and away the top stack. Now, it probably should have been like that the whole time, but their top stack percentage is double any other teams now. So, getting away from them maybe isn't as smart as once thought, especially because they're coming in with less ownership than their top stack percentage would imply they should. That said, they're still going to get a ton of love. They're the chalkiest team on the slate, and a team like Boston offers really nice leverage against that. They're second in top stack percentage. Toussaint is not good. Boston has hitters, left-handed power up and down this lineup. I like Boston quite a bit here. I don't think there's much not to like. And then Chicago in a similar spot. I think Crawford's better than Toussaint, has better stuff, but they're a lot cheaper. So they're also in play. There's a lot to like about both offenses here.
All right, let's talk about the top stacks tool. Then we'll do some home run calls and get on out of here. Again, FanDuel is locking in 4 minutes. DraftKings doesn't lock until 1:35, so adjust accordingly. But up here is the top stacks tool, the lineup generator promo code. What is a good promo code? I'm going to think of one. I'm going to say promo code SCORE will get you 50% off your first week of the lineup generator. So we're going to look at DraftKings here. Well, I guess we could let's look at DraftKings because it's still actionable information for you guys. So you choose your stack type, 435044. FanDuel, you can do 4443 and 422. So we're going to do, for fun, let's do 5 threes and see what happens. You can look at all lineups, chalky lineups, balanced build, contrarian lineups. So I'm going to do chalky lineups just because I always think it's fun to see how not so chalky these are, especially coming out of NBA finals where showdown slates and the Eastern and Western Conference finals where that's chalk. This is not chalk so much. You can lock in your choice of top pitcher or top hitter. Not stacks, but hitter or pitcher here. It's going to rank the top 10 most popular plays. And then from there, it will build out your lineup. So we're just going to say skip on that, and we're going to build out a bunch of lineups here. So you can build out. So I already built some this morning, but you can build them out up to 20 at a time. I like to build them out one at a time. You take a peek here at your lineups. And even though we said, hey, let's make this a chalky lineup, look at these ownership percentages. Yeah, Glass now on half the lineups. Wow, that's a big number. But now we're looking at Toronto here, a 5-man Toronto stack. So we're even with Springer, Gurriel, those guys are all, or Guerrero, those guys are under 15% because they're expensive, right? This is kind of a function of us talking about all those stacks that we like, all having these really pricey guys. That's going to disperse the popularity. So just by not taking Atlanta, you're suddenly different.
I was going to say, I think the only team that you even need to be concerned with ownership at all is Atlanta.
Yeah. So here we can hit save or discard. Let me see if I can make my screen a little bit smaller here. So I can fit more of that on there. So we can do save or discard, but you can swap out players. Say you don't want Glass now on this one to say, no, I want Garrett Cole. It says, oh, no, it's too expensive, right? But you can swap out individual players if this was your otherwise perfect lineup and you wanted somebody else. So here, let's put in Morton's too expensive. We can swap down here from that, and it'll give us more money, right? So we have $700 left. So you can make minor little tweaks. You like something, you save it. You don't like it, I'm just generating a bunch more. You can discard it. Oops, I don't want that one. We already have a lot of Toronto, Chicago stacks. Ooh, the Mariners. I like that one. Let's keep that. There's the Bo Sox, and there's Toronto. So clearly it's saying Toronto is your primary stack of your chalk, air quote chalk in this. But you can see already we know it's not because we didn't end up with any Atlanta Braves here.
Yeah, if you're fading the Braves, I think you're going to be different just in itself.
Yep, we either have one stack or a couple one-offs. I bet we have a 3-man stack there of Braves of our 20 lineups. So this is showing me the all 20 lineups that we have of their ownership, their popularity, and then we can export this. So all we got to do is click that. It's just going to kick it out in a CSV file, and then that will take it into Excel, and you can upload that into your DFS side of choice. You need to copy it into the template you downloaded from your DFS side of choice there, FanDuel or DraftKings, but you can upload it, and then we can get more lineups, so we can clear these out and build more lineups. So that's the lineup generator. It's a lot of fun here, just even to mess around. Even for those of you that are not building tons of lineups, this is perfect, because what it is doing is it's not giving you crappy or bad lineups. So even those of us that are building out 150 plus lineups, I usually play about 200, 250. The way I do it, I put them in not necessarily the giant tournaments, but I try to get in as many leagues as I can, because I like the payout structures better. I treat that like it's one big GPP. So as long as I'm getting a similar payout structure and similar entry fee, that works for me. I like the more attainable upside there. Yeah, I'm not going to win 5 figures, but I can, break even or cash most nights. So I like that. The nice thing here is you can build out as many as you want, create your portfolio, and then upload it for that. But what this is doing is it's eliminating the bad lineups. So even when I'm making my lineups, and even if I put in a floor that says, every lineup must have at least 90 DraftKings points and at least spend $4,900 or $49,000. Don't leave more than $1,000 on the table and do this and this. You're still missing out on things, because all an optimizer is doing is just putting things together. You're trying to force the correlation, but it isn't giving it to you the best. This behind the scenes has that extra layer of correlation built into it, because it's looking for expected value and a few other things similar to what our simulation tool is doing. But this is a little easier to explain and understand. So for those of you, it's $8.95 a week, 50% off your first week at the promo code SCORE. But you can build out lineups, and even if you're only playing $10, $20 a day, this is worth it, because you will save on your stupid lineups. This will just pay for itself, right? Meaning, would I rather light money on fire, or would I rather spend that money on this? And at the end of the day, probably have the same or a little bit more. Well, that makes more sense, right? Having a little bit more, that'd be a good idea. So you got to think about this. Saves you time, saves you headache. That's priceless. Any final thoughts on today's slate? Who is your home run call?
I have one final thought before we get into the home run call. The data has changed. As I mentioned it with Atlanta. It's important when you're making lineups.
10 minutes away from lock.
Yeah.
20 minutes away from lock. So
it's important that when you're making lineups and you're looking at this stuff, you're willing to, amend stuff yourself. You can't get locked in on things just because you think a certain way. Charlie Morton does not look as good. Now he's still coming in with nice leverage, and he's still close to the top as far as top pitcher percentage goes. But Cincinnati has now moved, they're right with Texas as far as top stack percentage goes. Who would you use, Cincinnati or Texas? It's tough, right?
Yes, because
Texas is better than Cincinnati.
Texas is better than Cincinnati. Cole allows home runs. Morton induces ground balls. We need home runs for our stacks to work. Ground balls also lead to double plays when people are on base. My heart says Cincinnati, but the answer is Texas.
Well, the reason I think you could say Cincinnati is just Cole is probably he's better than Morton. So he gives up home runs, but he's also more likely to shut them out. It's fun to talk about either way. Neither offense looks great. My home run call, I'm going to go way off the board. Give me Bobby Dahlbeck.
Oh, really? I believe in chat, Stephen Leibowitz may have mentioned Bobby Dahlbeck.
I did not even see it.
T. McBee and I traded him I got Bobby Dahlbeck from him in a trade in our incredibly complex dynasty keeper league that has 3 different drafts and 4 different types of player contracts. Those. I have to spend an hour with him every other week just saying, what am I supposed to do again?
That's
and
hilarious.
I pay attention. It's like a 9-page rule document. It's just this ever-evolving thing that they suckered me into because I'm at least trying. There are other people kind of throw their hands and gave up, but we are both keenly interested in Bobby Dahlbeck because I gave up on him, did not sign him to a contract, and T. McBee swooped in and got him. So we'll see what happens there. My home run is actually coming out of Coors Field, except it's not going to be an obvious guy. It is going to be typically their number 9 hitter, Ellis Montero, going against Tyler Anderson. So I feel that that's okay to choose that one from Coors. I know we usually don't like to go there. However,
not even on the slate though.
I know. That's why I want to talk about it. He's not on the slate. This is a good way to get access to it. If we look at the Odd Shopper True Odds, which is kind of showing you where compared to where the lines are compared to where the true odds of this are, when I took the screen capture this morning, it was a plus 520 for him to hit a home run. True odds were closer to plus 480, which means you're getting about a 7% advantage. So the price is 7% inefficient. That over a longer time horizon, which you have to look at for bet wagers like this, that they're long shots, right? You have to look at for the longer time horizon. Those are the little edges that you look for. So I like that one. This helped me find Tristan Casas yesterday, who I did get. That was a nice one. It also helped me get Anthony Santander last week. Hey-yo, maybe I'll go.
Yeah, that was a great call. Montero profiles really well here also. Big power upside against left-handed pitching. So I like it a lot. Good call. And it was a nice segue into the, betting tools. So nice job.
There we go. I missed screen sharing that, but we'll get better. We'll do that better next week. But with that, we're going to get on out of here. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Please hit that like button on the way out. Reminder that we did talk about ways that you could get in 30 free days of Stochastic Premium through the Avatar contest. That's at stochastic.com/avatar. You can get in if you haven't signed up yet for BetMGM. Hey, go visit a state that actually is enlightened and has sports wagering. All you got to do is sign up, use our promo code, come in on our link, make one $10 bet, and you're going to get a coupon code for 30 days of Stochastic. That's worth it in and of itself. I mean, moms, girlfriends, brothers, husbands, wives, they all like to have this stuff too, and they'll just give you the promo code. So I'm just telling you, there are ways to get this. I'm looking, the Thunder, but I will say, as we're getting on out of here, you can go to stochastic.com. If you look under the deals page, it'll tell you different discounts that we have. I'm going to show that. I'm going to drop that in chat there. I don't think we have one for the Sims right now, but if you reach out to Greg on Twitter, he might know a way that you can get that. That would be Greg Ehrenberg. He is more into the Sims than I am. That's it. We're good. We're done. Thank you, everybody. With that, you can follow Matt on Twitter at FantasyTipsMatt. I am at EMac DFS. Of course, it is Stochastic_COM. Good luck, gamers.
Thanks, guys.